Listen, everyone. I want to tell you about Christmas Town.
I love Christmas. Okay, I guess I could try and be a little more specific. I really fucking love Christmas. You see, it never mattered to me whether it was hot chocolate, perusing the halls of a delicately decorated house, or even those catchy choruses from the holiday jingles that most everyone can agree sometimes start a little too soon. Like, day after Halloween and Thanksgiving still isn't even close to soon, but I couldn't care less because I truly do love it all. I still remember running downstairs on December 25th, turning on the old Panasonic box TV, and half watching, half listening to the guy from Ground Hog's Day play Scrooge as I sat there with my first gift already partially unwrapped, even though it definitely wasn't quite time yet. But sadly, as I grow older, the actor in Scrooge isn't just a guy from Groundhog's Day, he's Bill Murray, and I find the youthful enthusiasm, or perhaps even more so the ignorance that I once had, to be slowly waning. Very slowly, but that's totally besides the point. These days, I pay full attention to things that I never even used to second guess, and the funny part is, what I seem to gravitate towards the most are those exact same movies that used to simply serve as atmosphere to the main event. Now those movies are front and center, and they've ultimately led me to asking questions like, what makes a classic Christmas movie a classic? Or heck, an even better question, what is the perfect Christmas movie? The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas is without a doubt the quintessential Christmas film, and in my opinion, it's a freaking masterpiece. Now, I'm sure most of you are probably sitting there staring at the screen right now thinking I'm crazy. How can a horror movie about Halloween be the quintessential movie for Christmas? But just hear me out, and I promise by the end of this video, you won't think I'm as crazy as I may seem. To start, the intricacies of a Christmas film are more complex than they might first appear. It isn't completely necessary or even sufficient to set a film at Christmas in the first place. I mean, virtually every Shane Black film, from The Long Kiss Goodnight to The Nice Guys, is set at or near Christmas, but nobody really tends to think of those as quote-unquote Christmas films. You see, according to BBC writer Natalie Haynes, for a film to achieve classic Christmas movie status, Christmas needs to be more than the counterpoint. It has to be the main focus. So how does the Pumpkin King rallying the people of Halloween Town together for their nightmare extravaganza follow this proposition, you might be asking yourself? Well, that question can be answered around the 15-minute mark when Jack Skellington sulks his way into the forest. But ultimately what it comes down to is that Christmas films are all about desire, though rarely in the erotic sense in which most of us would tend to think of it. Instead, think of the scene at the start of A Christmas Story, where Ralphie gazes through the shop window at his longed-for BB gun. That film was almost made 40 years after Cary Grant's The Bishop's Wife, where you'll also find the mesmerizing Loretta Young gazing at a beautiful hat with equal fervor. And just as Ralphie fears he may never receive the BB gun, Julia also imagines that she'll never own the glorious hat. When it comes down to it, the object of desire itself is notably less important than the yearning that it instills in both the character and viewer. But I don't think that's exactly the case when it comes to Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. Just give me a second and I'll explain. You see, even if the gun and the hat aren't quite what you had in mind for yourself this Christmas, the sense of longing for something which cannot love you back is intrinsic to this time of year. Except, what leaves Nightmare Before Christmas towering above the rest is that our main character doesn't long for something tangible like a BB gun or a hat. Jack longs for the sense of self-worth that being the Pumpkin King once gave him. He has the desire to spread joy, but only has one way in which he's ever known how to do it, and that one way just isn't cutting it anymore. Jack feels lost. He feels like a fake and a fraud. But what do you do when the one thing that has always made sense in your life only confuses things even more now? What do you do when the one thing that you love no longer makes you happy? Haynes also notes that the best Christmas films put their characters through the ringer, financial or physical dangers often provoking profound emotional trauma, leaving Christmas to be what inevitably pulls them back from the brink. And Burton most definitely decided to put his lead protagonist through the ringer this time around. Initially, we are introduced to a Jack Skellington that seems larger than life, both literally and metaphorically. Jack is the Pumpkin King, for God's sake. Everybody that he's ever met either looks up to him or praises him for the joy he brings to their lives through his haunting behavior, and he's undeniably the most frightening and fearsome man in all of Halloween Town. But when the curtains are pulled back, we find out that this version of Jack he lets the world see is not the version he sees himself. Jack is hurting. He's hurting, and almost nobody can even care to notice. Imagine being in a position where you bring so much joy to the people around you. These people are ecstatic about the things you do, but the things you do don't even make you happy anymore. Imagine feeling like you're a person who's only wearing a shell of what you thought you once were, or what you actually once were, but due to evolution no longer can relate to or identify with. This This film can be a metaphor for a lot of things, but I think why this movie in particular is so relatable not only to kids who love the creepy aesthetic of Tim Burton's stop motion animation, but to older audiences as well, is that it sends a message about maturing, about moving away from friends, and it ultimately sends a message about growing up. This is the same exact reason why a film like It's a Wonderful Life will remain an age-old tale that relates to audiences for generations, while films like Elf will inevitably fall to the wayside. In It's a Wonderful Life, the protagonist George Bailey is contemplating suicide. He's lost all hope in his friends, his family, his business, and is just overall dissatisfied with his life's choices. However, those exact same people recognize all of the good that George has brought to their lives over the years, and their prayers for him actually end up reaching heaven. The prayers are heard by the guardian angels above, and Clarence Oddbody, a second-class angel who is yet to receive his wings, is assigned to save George in order to finally earn them. You see, Clarence is shown flashbacks of George's life by higher-ranking angels to get a glimpse into the sort of person that he is. The first of these flashbacks being a 12-year-old George who saves his younger brother Harry from drowning in a frozen lake. Secondly, Clarence is shown a vision of George when he's 21. Young and eager to leave for a world tour before attending college, George seemingly has his whole life in front of him, but sometimes things don't always work out as you desire. Clarence sees that while walking home with his future wife, Mary Hatch, after Harry's high school graduation party, the two are interrupted by horrifying news. George's father, Peter, has died of a stroke. This causes George to postpone his travels and decide to stay behind in order to take care of his mother and sort out the family business. But back in the main timeline, when George makes the claim that he wishes he had never been born, Clarence decides the best form of action is to grant his morbid wish. And in now cliche Christmas movie style, he shows George an alternate version of the world in which he never existed. In this alternate timeline, George discovers Harry's grave in the cemetery, since now he was never alive to stop him from drowning. And without George around, his father's business ends up going under after the stroke, falling prey to their main competitor, the corrupt businessman Mr. Potter. Now convinced that Clarence really is his guardian angel, George runs to the bridge and begs for his life back. Feeling fulfilled in his duty, Clarence grants him his new wish, and the alternate timeline converts back to George's original reality. George rushes home to his family and friends on Christmas night, now grateful for the life that he has, the one that he's always had. It's apparent that It's a Wonderful Life and The Nightmare Before Christmas share many parallels. In the beginning, both George and Jack feel unsatisfied with the cards they've been dealt, so they wish to make a change, one much more horrifying than the other. However, surprisingly out of the two, it's not the Halloween horror movie. The concept of you don't know what you got till it's gone runs rampant throughout the two of these films alike. It's like a new relationship versus an old marriage. There's always that initial spark, and trust me, that spark is fantastic. It's amazing and wonderful, and if we could all feel that way forever, I'm sure we would, but sparks only last a second. What's more important than anything is building an engine around that spark, letting that spark not just fade in and out of existence, but allowing it to be the starting point of something greater. You see, after everything, both of our protagonists end up realizing that what was sitting right there in front of them had always been what they needed from the beginning. But while both George and Jack start in similar places, longing for the self-satisfaction that they once felt, I think the courses in which they take to overcome that sense of unfulfillment is really what makes all the difference. The difference in these journeys is the determining factor. The factor that leaves one of these being the perfect Christmas movie and the other one being just a very, very good Christmas movie. It's a Wonderful Life most certainly comes close to being perfect, and it's truly amazing in so many aspects, from story to cinematography, but personally, I just feel like the angel literally showing up to show George how the world would be better with him ends up taking away from the gratifying satisfaction that one gets from their own self-actualization. And at this point, it's just a well-known Christmas movie trope, especially compared to The Nightmare Before Christmas, where Tim Burton decided to take a more nuanced approach to the matter. In his film, Christmas is the catalyst to help Jack Skellington find what he's been looking for, but it still isn't laid out in front of him. There's no guardian angel holding his hand along the way. He has to find the trees in the forest all by himself, even if it's only by chance. And even when that happens, and Jack thinks that becoming Santa Claus will give him the spark that being the Pumpkin King once did, he finds himself ending up severely disappointed. It takes time for him to realize that the new spark he's found has no substance. It doesn't come close to leaving the same impact on the people around him. Jack has failed to realize that this entire time, the effect that being the Pumpkin King has on all of those people in Halloween Town is really what mattered most all along. But it's not without trial and error that he realizes nothing new is going to be able to recreate the feeling of the world he's built around him all these years, the feeling of what he's had right in front of him. You see, we all go through periods of feeling like things aren't enough, like we aren't enough, feeling like we took a wrong turn down the dark, twisted, and complicated road that is life. How could we ever be certain that we're making the right choices, making the right decision in careers or in friends, or whether or not that the world we were born into just hasn't doomed us from the beginning? The brutally honest answer is we don't. Sometimes life deals a shitty hand, and in all honesty, every single one of us are out here trying to give it our best guess. All we can do to make a difference is wake up each and every day and try our best to make the most out of what we've been given. You see, it doesn't matter if you're a school teacher with a class of 20 kids, a fisherman taking a family out to the deep sea, or a famous musician who touches the lives of millions through your hit songs. It doesn't matter if you were born poor or born rich, or worked your way into becoming a self-made millionaire. What truly matters at the end of the day is that you leave a positive impact on the lives of those around you. It's the little things like opening the door for people or asking somebody how their day was. It's putting in that extra 5% and going out of your way just to make a difference. The right difference. And you see, not all of us are going to have a guardian angel like Clarence along the way to help show us the right path. Most of us are going to have to live every single day taking our best guesses, going through trials and tribulations, just hoping to make the most out of what limited time we have. But just like the Pumpkin King, and perhaps with a little help from Christmas, we'll be able to realize that everything we've been looking for was always right there all along. I want to thank everybody who's been watching my videos so far. By the time this drops, we should hit 100 subscribers. That's a big pivotal moment for me, so I really just want to give a big shout out to everybody who comes back and comments, leaves a like, subscribes, and shares. You guys really mean the world to me. I also want you to know that you can follow me on Twitter at @DigitalArk_. That's pretty much my @ for all of my social media, even Instagram, everything like that. I also have a Patreon if you guys would like to support me. I don't have a big enough channel yet for YouTube to allow me to monetize, and with their new policies and procedures that they've been coming out with, I don't know if I'll even be able to at the end of the day. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing any of that, it would really mean the world to me. As always, it's been your boy Digital Ark. I just want to say I love you guys. I'll see you around next time.